The Galactic Military Academy sat on a planet called Velther Prime. It was the biggest and most famous military school in the whole galaxy. Every year, thousands of young beings from hundreds of different worlds came here to learn how to fight, how to lead, and how to protect their people. The Academy had seen many strange and powerful students over the years. There were the Krillians, tall insect-like creatures with hard shells that could stop bullets. There were the Mindari, small purple beings who could read minds and move things without touching them. There were the Drokan, massive warriors with 4 arms and skin like stone. But none of them had ever scared the Academy like Cadet Thurton. His real name was Zorth Kell, but nobody called him that anymore. The testing officers had given him a number instead of using his name. They did this because when they tested him on the first day, he broke every record the Academy had ever kept. The strength test machine broke when he punched it. The speed test showed numbers that the officers thought were mistakes. The tactical thinking test gave him a perfect score, something that had never happened before. Even the test for mental power showed that Zoreth had abilities that the officers could not measure. After seeing these results, the testing officers did not know what to say. One of them, an old Krillian named Captain Vex, looked at the broken machines and the impossible numbers on the screens. He shook his head slowly. "This is not possible," Captain Vex said. "These numbers cannot be real." But they were real. Zorth Kell was real. And now he was a student at the Academy. Zoreth was a Vexorian. Once, his people had been one of the most powerful races in the galaxy. They were warriors of legend. Stories said that a single Vexorian could destroy an entire army. Stories said that their anger could crack mountains and their roar could stop hearts. But the Vexorians were gone now. 7 years ago, a wandering black hole had come to their star system. It had swallowed their sun, their planets, and their moons. Billions of Vexorians had died in moments. Zoreth was the only one left. He had been on a trade ship, traveling to another system when his world died. He had watched from the ship's window as everything he knew and loved disappeared into the darkness. Now, at 19 years old by human counting, he walked through the halls of the Galactic Military Academy alone. He was nearly 8 feet tall, with skin as black as space itself. His skin seemed to eat light, making him look like a walking shadow. He had 4 eyes, all of them glowing red like dying stars. When he walked through the corridors, other students ran away. They pressed themselves against the walls. Some of them hid in rooms until he passed. Nobody looked at him directly. Nobody spoke to him. Zoreth understood why they were afraid. He looked like something from a nightmare. His claws were long and sharp enough to cut through metal. His teeth were pointed like knives. When he spoke, his voice was so deep that it made the floor shake. But inside, Zoreth was not what they thought he was. Inside, he was just a scared young man who had lost everything. He was alone in a galaxy that saw him only as a monster. On his first day at the Academy, Zoreth walked into the cafeteria to get food. The large room was full of students from many different worlds. They were talking and laughing, eating strange foods and sharing stories from their home planets. When Zoreth entered the room, everything stopped. Every conversation ended. Every face turned toward him. For a moment, there was complete silence. Then the students began to move. They picked up their trays and their bags. They left their seats. They walked toward the exits, keeping their eyes on the floor, trying not to attract his attention. In less than 1 minute, the cafeteria was empty. Zoreth stood alone in a room meant for 500 people. He got his food from the serving machines. He sat down at a table by himself. He ate in silence, surrounded by empty chairs and the quiet hum of the lights above. This happened every day for 3 weeks. Commander Voss was the leader of the Academy. He was an old Trellian with blue scales and wise golden eyes. He had led armies in 3 wars, He had trained thousands of the galaxy's best soldiers. But Zorath Kell worried him in a way that nothing had before. Not because he was afraid of the Vexorian. Commander Voss had faced death many times. He did not fear much anymore. What worried him was what he saw in the security camera feeds. Every night, Voss watched the recordings from around the academy. He saw Zorath walking alone through empty halls. He saw Zorath eating alone in empty rooms. He saw Zorath sitting in his quarters, staring at nothing, for hours at a time. "He is suffering," Voss said to his assistant. Lieutenant Mora was a Fenari, a fish-like creature with silver skin and large dark eyes. She looked at the screen showing Zorath alone in his room. "With respect, Commander," she said, "he terrifies everyone. The other cadets are scared to even look at him. What can we do?" "Fear is a natural response," Voss replied. "But it is also a prison. It keeps others away from him, yes, but it also keeps him trapped in loneliness. We need someone who is not afraid. Someone who can see past what he looks like to who he actually is. Does such a person exist?" Commander Voss did not answer. He was not sure. That night, Zorath sat in his dark quarters and held a small device in his massive hand. The device projected a picture made of light. In the picture was a family. A Vexorian father with kind eyes. A Vexorian mother with a gentle smile. 3 small Vexorian children, all of them laughing at something the viewer could not see. His family. All gone now. All dead. A tear rolled down Zorath's black cheek. It glowed amber, the color of Vexorian grief. He put the picture away and lay down on his bed. It was too small for him, like everything at this academy. Like everything in this galaxy. Nothing was built for Vexorians anymore. Nothing needed to be. He was the last one. Zorath closed his 4 red eyes and tried to sleep. In his dreams, he was home again. In his dreams, his family was alive. In his dreams, he was not a monster. He was just a son, a brother, a child who was loved. When he woke up, the dreams faded. The cold reality returned. He was alone. He would always be alone. But Zorath did not know that the next transport ship was already on its way to the academy. He did not know that on that ship was a young human woman with copper-colored hair and warm brown eyes. He did not know that walking beside her was a 7-foot-tall robot with a surprisingly kind voice. He did not know that everything was about to change. The transport ship landed at the academy on a cold morning. The sky was gray and the wind was sharp. Most ships brought 30 or 40 new students at a time. This ship brought only 2. The first one to walk down the ramp was a young human woman. Her name was Lucy Grant. She was 22 years old, with hair the color of copper metal and eyes like honey. She was small by the standards of most galactic species. Humans were new to space travel. They had only discovered how to fly faster than light 80 years ago. Many alien races thought humans were weak and simple, but Lucy was neither of these things. She had graduated at the top of her class from the military academy on Earth. She had received invitations from 12 different schools across the galaxy. She had chosen to come here, to Velther Prime, because it was the best. And Lucy Grant always wanted to be the best. Behind her came something that made everyone stop and stare. It was a robot. But not like the simple worker robots that clean floors or serve food. This robot was 7 feet tall, made of shining metal that gleamed even in the gray light. Its body was shaped like a person, with 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. But its hands were huge, built for heavy work. Its eyes glowed blue like small stars. "My name is Victor," the robot said. His voice was deep but friendly, like a kind teacher. Victor 7, to be specific. "I am Lucy's companion and protector." Commander Voss was there to greet them. He had read their files many times. Lucy Grant was an excellent soldier with high test scores and strong leadership skills. Victor had been built by Lucy's father, a famous scientist who made robots. Her father had died 3 years ago, and Victor was the only family Lucy had left. "Welcome to the Galactic Military Academy," Boss said. He held out his hand the way humans did when they met someone. Lucy shook his hand. Her grip was firm and confident. "Thank you, Commander. We are very happy to be here." "Happy is perhaps not the right word," Victor said. "I have calculated that there is a 73% chance that we will face problems with other students within the first month. Humans are not common here. Some species do not respect humans." Lucy turned and poked the robot in his metal chest. "Victor, what did I say about being positive? You said I should try to look on the bright side. And I am trying." The chance of problems was 89% before I considered how good you are at making friends. So technically, I am being optimistic. Commander Voss almost smiled. These two were going to be very interesting. Lucy was assigned to live in Barracks 7. It was one of the older buildings, with large rooms and high ceilings. The officer who assigned her did not realize that Barracks 7 was also where Cadet 13 lived. By the time anyone noticed this mistake, Lucy had already unpacked her clothes, set up her computer, and put pictures of her father on the wall. She looked around the simple room and nodded. "This will work fine," she said. Victor stood in the doorway. He was too tall to fit through without bending down. "I have scanned the building. There are 47 other students living here. 46 of them appear to be normal. One of them has unusual readings." "Unusual how?" "Extremely high energy output. Physical form much larger than average. The readings suggest a Vessorian, which should be impossible since the Vessorian species was destroyed 7 years ago." Lucy raised her eyebrows. "A Vexorian? I thought they were all gone." "According to records, one survived. Zorath Kell, listed in Academy files as Cadet 13. He lives at the end of this hallway." "Cadet 13," Lucy repeated. "Why does he have a number instead of a name?" "I do not know. Perhaps we should ask him." That evening, after putting away all her things, Lucy walked to the common room. This was a large space where students from Barracks 7 could relax, eat snacks, and talk with each other. When she arrived, the room was almost empty. In the far corner, hidden in shadows, sat a massive figure. Even sitting down, he was taller than Lucy standing up. His skin was black as the deepest night. His 4 red eyes glowed like warning lights. Any other student would have turned around and left. Any other student would have felt fear freeze their blood and stop their heart. Lucy walked straight toward him. "Hi there," she said with a friendly smile. "Do you mind if I sit with you?" Zorath looked up. For a moment, he could not believe what was happening. In 3 weeks, not a single student had come near him by choice. Most of them walked in the other direction when they saw him coming. "You want to sit with me?" His voice was deep and rough. He had not spoken to anyone in so long that he had almost forgotten how. "Sure, why not?" Lucy sat down in the chair across from him. "I am Lucy Grant. I am human, as you can probably tell." "What is your name?" "I am Cadet 13. Lucy shook her head. "That is a number, not a name." "What is your real name?" "Zorath. Zorath Kell. Nice to meet you, Zorath." She smiled at him again. It was a real smile, warm and honest, with no fear hiding behind it. "Is this your first year here?" Before Zorath could answer, heavy metal footsteps came from the hallway. Victor walked into the common room, bending down to fit through the door. Several students who had been watching from a safe distance quickly left. "Lucy," Victor said, "you forgot your reading tablet in the room. I brought it for you." Then he noticed Zorath. "Ah, a Vexorian. Very interesting." I have many files about your species. I am very sorry about what happened to your home. The loss must be more than I can understand." Zorath stared at the robot, then at Lucy, then back at the robot. "You are not afraid of me?" he asked quietly. Lucy looked confused by the question. "Should we be? Everyone else is afraid. Everyone runs away from me." Victor's blue eyes flickered as he processed this information. Fear is usually a response to danger. You are not being dangerous right now. You are sitting quietly, so there is no reason to be afraid. Also, I have studied your body language and your expressions. My analysis says that you are gentle, not violent. You are lonely, not dangerous. Something inside Zorath cracked. Something that had been frozen solid since the day his world died. He felt it break apart like ice in warm water. "I am lonely," he admitted. "I am very lonely." Lucy reached across the table. She put her small human hand on top of his massive clawed hand. Her skin was soft and warm against his hard, cold surface. "Not anymore," she said simply. Zorath did not know what to say. He had expected many things when he came to this academy. He had expected fear. He had expected isolation. He had expected to spend his years here alone, training to become a weapon that the galaxy could use. He had not expected kindness. He had not expected someone to reach out and touch him without flinching. He had not expected to feel, even for a moment, like he might belong somewhere. "Why are you being nice to me?" he asked. "You do not know me. You do not know what I am capable of." Lucy shrugged. "I do not need to know everything about you to be kind to you. That is not how friendship works. You seem like you could use a friend. So here I am. And here I am as well," Victor added. "Lucy rarely makes bad choices about people. If she thinks you are worth befriending, then I trust her judgment." Zorath looked down at Lucy's small hand resting on his. In his whole life, he could not remember a moment quite like this. Even before his world died, his people had not been known for gentle touches or soft words. Vexorians were warriors. They showed love through protection, through training, through preparing their children to survive. But this was different. This was something new. "I do not know how to be a friend," Zorath said quietly. "I do not know if I remember how." Lucy squeezed his hand gently. "That is okay. We can learn together." Outside the window, the stars of 1,000 worlds shone in the dark sky. Somewhere out there was the place where Zorath's home used to be. Somewhere out there was empty space where his family had lived and laughed and loved. He could not bring them back. He could not change what had happened. But maybe, just maybe, he did not have to be alone anymore. The weeks that followed changed everything. Every morning at exactly 6 o'clock, Lucy knocked on Zorath's door. It did not matter if it was raining outside or if the training had been hard the day before. She always came at the same time, with the same smile on her face. Victor was always with her, carrying hot drinks. Coffee for Lucy, because humans needed it to wake up properly. A special mineral drink for Zorath, something Victor had found in old Vexorian records. And a small container of machine oil for Victor himself. He did not actually need to drink it, but he said it made him feel like part of the group. They ate breakfast together in the cafeteria every day. At first, they sat alone at their table. The other students still watched Zorath with fear in their eyes. They still whispered about the monster and the strange human who was not afraid of him. But slowly, things began to change. It started with the way Zorath looked. Not his body, which was still 8 feet of black muscle and red eyes and sharp claws. What changed was his expression. Before Lucy arrived, his face had always been hard and closed, like a wall made of stone. Now, he was smiling. It was not a scary smile, even though his teeth were sharp enough to bite through metal. It was a real smile, the kind that made his red eyes glow warmer and softer. When he smiled, He did not look like a monster anymore. He looked like a young man who was happy. The other students noticed. They could not help but notice. "Look at that," whispered a Krillian named Skrex to his friends at a nearby table. The human made him laugh. "I did not know Vexorians could laugh." "Maybe she put a spell on him," suggested a Mindari named Yeleth. "Humans are supposed to be primitive, but perhaps they have powers we do not know about." "That is stupid," said a small Trilaxian named Pebble. Her skin was smooth and gray like a stone, which was why everyone called her that name. "She is just being nice to him." When was the last time anyone was nice to him? Nobody had an answer for that question. In the training classes, Lucy and Zorath were put on the same team. This was normal at the academy. Students were matched together based on their skills, so they could learn to work with different types of fighters. Their teacher, Sergeant Braun, was a massive Drokan with 4 arms and a voice like thunder. He had fought in many battles and trained thousands of soldiers. He did not scare easily, but even he was impressed by what he saw. During their first combat exercise, Lucy and Zorath moved together like they had been fighting side by side for years. Lucy was fast and smart, finding weak points and making plans. Zorath was strong and powerful, smashing through obstacles and protecting his partner. Victor helped them from the side, using his special sensors to see things that eyes could not see. He told them where enemies were hiding. He warned them about traps before they could spring. He calculated the best paths through the training maze. Together, the 3 of them finished the exercise in record time. "Wow," Sergeant Braun said, looking at his timer with all 4 of his eyes. "That has never happened before." The other students watched with new expressions on their faces. The fear was still there, but now it was mixed with something else: respect, curiosity, maybe even a little bit of admiration. After training one day, Victor pulled Zorath aside. Lucy had gone to talk with the teacher about extra lessons, so they were alone. "I have noticed something," Victor said. "During close combat training, you hesitate when you are near Lucy. You hold back your strength. You move more slowly than you could." Zorath looked down at his massive clawed hands. "She is so small, so fragile. Humans have no armor, no healing powers. I could break her without meaning to. I could hurt her with just a careless movement." "I understand," Victor said. "Would you like to know something about me?" "What?" "I am strong enough to tear through the walls of a starship. My hands could crush rocks into powder. But Lucy's father taught me how to control my strength. He showed me how to be gentle. One day, Lucy taught me how to hold a butterfly without hurting its wings." Zorath tried to imagine this. A giant metal robot holding something as delicate as a butterfly. "How?" he asked. "Practice," Victor replied. "Control is not about being weak. It is about choosing exactly how much strength to use. Perhaps Lucy could teach you the same thing." That afternoon, Lucy took Zorath to an empty training room. She had a box with her. When she opened it, Zora saw that it was full of eggs. Regular food eggs, the kind the cafeteria used for breakfast. "What are we doing?" Zorath asked. "Teaching you to be gentle." Lucy picked up an egg and held it in her palm. "Your job is to hold this egg without breaking it. Simple, right?" Zorath took the egg carefully. He tried to hold it the way Lucy did. Light and soft. The egg exploded in his hand, covering his fingers in yellow goo. "Okay," Lucy said, not bothered at all. "Let us try again." They spent 3 hours in that room. Zorath broke 17 eggs. Each time, Lucy just cleaned up the mess and gave him another one. She never got angry. She never gave up. She just kept encouraging him to try again. On the 18th egg, something changed. Zorath felt the shell against his palm. He felt its weakness, its fragility. And instead of crushing it, he adjusted. He controlled the pressure of each finger separately. He balanced his strength like water balancing in a cup. The egg stayed whole. "I did it," Zorth whispered. He stared at the egg in his hand like it was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. "I did it." Lucy grinned at him. "I knew you could." That night, Zorth did something he had not done since arriving at the academy. He joined the other students for dinner. He sat at a table with Lucy and Victor, as usual. But this time, something different happened. A small figure approached their table. It was Pebble, the Trilaxian who had defended him earlier. She stood nervously next to their table, holding her food tray. "May I sit with you?" she asked in a quiet voice. Zorth looked at Lucy. She nodded with encouragement. "Yes," Zorth said. "Please, sit." Pebble sat down. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Victor broke the silence. "Your mineral composition is fascinating," he said to Pebble. "I've never seen a Trilaxian up close. Your people are from the cave systems of Trilaxa, correct?" Pebble relaxed a little. "Yes, we live underground. The surface of our world is too bright for our eyes. That explains why you keep squinting in the cafeteria lights," Lucy said. "Victor, is there anything we can do about that?" "I can adjust my optical sensors to emit a small field that reduces brightness in the immediate area. It would be like wearing invisible sunglasses." Pebble's eyes went wide. "You would do that for me?" "Of course," Victor said. "Why would I not?" By the end of the meal, their table had 5 students sitting at it. By the end of the week, it had 12. Creatures from different worlds, different species, different backgrounds. All of them drawn together by the strange power of kindness. Commander Voss watched it happen through the security cameras. He sat in his office with Lieutenant Mora, both of them amazed by what they were seeing. 3 weeks ago, every student ran from him, Mora said. Now they fight for the chance to sit at his table. How is this possible? Commander Voss smiled. Humans have a saying. They say that kindness is contagious. It spreads from person to person like a good disease. A good disease, Mora repeated. I'm not sure that makes sense. Maybe it does not need to make sense. Maybe it just needs to be true. On the screen, Zorth was laughing at something Lucy had said. His red eyes were bright with happiness. Around him, students from a dozen different worlds were laughing too. For the first time since he lost his home, Zorth Kell was not alone, and that was just the beginning. 3 months after Lucy arrived at the academy, disaster struck Dodd. It was a normal morning when the alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed in every hallway. The emergency sirens wailed so loud that students covered their ears and ran for the main assembly hall. Commander Voss stood at the front of the hall. His blue scales were pale with worry. His golden eyes were serious in a way that made everyone feel afraid. We have received a distress signal, he announced. His voice echoed through the room. A colony ship called the Starlight Hope has become trapped in the nearby asteroid field. Its engines have failed. Its life support systems are dying. There are 600 passengers on board, including 200 children. The room went completely silent. Everyone understood what this meant. Without help, those people would die. The asteroid field is extremely dangerous, Voss continued. The rocks are filled with volatile crystals that explode when disturbed. One wrong move could destroy both the rescue ships and the colony vessel. Our academy training ships are the closest vessels capable of mounting a rescue. But this is not a simulation. This is real. I am asking for volunteers. Every single student in the room stepped forward. Every one of them, Commander Voss, felt pride swell in his chest. But he knew that not everyone could go. The mission required specific skills. They needed pilots who could fly through the deadly asteroid field. They needed engineers who could fix the broken ship. And they needed someone strong enough to hold the ship together while repairs were made. Lucy raised her hand. "Victor and I can handle the flying. His sensors can detect the explosive crystals much better than our normal equipment. We can find a safe path through the asteroids." Victor nodded his metal head. "My systems can predict asteroid movements with 94% accuracy. I can guide our ship through the field. And Zorath can handle the physical part," Lucy added. "Vaxorians can survive in space without a suit for short periods. He can work on the outside of the ship to seal any holes in the hull." Every eye in the room turned to Zorath. 3 months ago, those eyes would have been filled with fear. Now they were filled with hope. They were asking him to be their hero. Zorath stood tall. His red eyes glowed with determination. "I will go," he said. The rescue team was chosen quickly. 15 cadets and 3 teachers would fly 3 small ships into the asteroid field. Lucy would pilot the lead ship. Victor would navigate. Zorath would do the work that no one else could do. They launched within the hour. Time was running out for the people on the Starlight Hope. The asteroid field was worse than anyone had imagined. Massive rocks tumbled through space in random patterns. Many of them glowed purple from the explosive crystals inside them. Even a small touch could set off a chain reaction that would destroy everything for 100 kilometers. Lucy sat in the pilot's seat with her hands steady on the controls. Behind her, Victor stood with his eyes glowing as he processed thousands of calculations every second. Asteroid at 47 degrees. Distance 2 kilometers. Extremely dangerous. Turn 12 degrees to the right. Lucy turned the ship smoothly. 3 small rocks ahead, moving fast. Slow down by 15% and let them pass. Lucy adjusted their speed. They moved through the field like water flowing between stones. Victor predicted and Lucy reacted. They worked together perfectly, like 2 parts of the same machine in the back of the ship. Zorath prepared himself for what was coming. Through the window, he could see the Starlight Hope. It was a big ship, meant to carry hundreds of people across the stars. But now it was damaged and dark. He could see holes in the hull where the air was escaping into space. "The life support will fail completely in 20 minutes, reported Lieutenant Mora through the communication system. "We are out of time." "Then we work fast," Lucy said. "Zorath, are you ready?" Zorath looked at his clawed hands. He thought about the eggs he had learned to hold without breaking. He thought about all the control Lucy had taught him. "I am ready," he said. Lucy brought their ship alongside the damaged vessel. It was an impossible maneuver. There was only a tiny gap between the 2 ships, just enough for someone to jump across. Anyone watching would have said it could not be done. Lucy did it anyway. Zorath did not hesitate. He opened the airlock and leaped across the gap. For a moment, he was floating in the cold emptiness of space. Then his claws dug into the hull of the Starlight Hope. The cold hit him immediately. Space was colder than anything he had ever felt. It burned through his skin like fire made of ice. But Vaxorians were built to survive things that would kill other creatures. He could last out here for maybe 30 minutes before the cold killed him. He had to work fast. He found the first hole in the hull. Air was rushing out, carrying warmth and life with it. Zorath pressed his body against the hole, using his own mass to block it. The cold bit deeper into his flesh. The pain was enormous, but he did not let go. "First hole sealed," he reported through his communication device. Moving to the second one. Inside the Starlight Hope, Lucy and Victor led a team of cadets to the damaged ship. The engine room was a disaster. Broken pipes and sparking wires were everywhere. The smell of smoke and fear filled the air. "Victor, can you connect to their computer system?" "Already doing it. The main power can be restored if we redirect it through a backup system. But the life support controls are too damaged for automatic operation. Someone will have to run them by hand." Lucy grabbed a tool bag. Show me what to do. For the next 18 minutes, they worked harder than they had ever worked in their lives. Zorath crawled across the outside of the ship, sealing holes with his body, enduring cold and pain that would have killed most creatures. Victor guided the repairs with his vast computer brain. Lucy worked the controls with human determination and skill. The passengers of the Starlight Hope waited in fear. Many of them had already said goodbye to each other. Parents held their children close. Old friends held hands. They could feel the air getting thinner, could feel the cold creeping in. And then, with only 2 minutes to spare, the lights came back on. The hum of machinery filled the ship. Fresh, warm air began flowing through the vents. The passengers gasped with relief. Children started crying with joy. Strangers hugged each other. They were going to live. When Zorath finally climbed back into their rescue ship, he collapsed against a wall. Frost covered his black skin. His 4 eyes were dim with exhaustion. He had pushed himself to the very edge of death. Lucy ran to his side immediately. "Are you okay?" "Talk to me, Zorath." "Cold," he managed to say. His voice was weak, nothing like its usual deep rumble. "So cold." Lucy grabbed emergency blankets and wrapped them around him. Then she did something unexpected. She pressed her own body against his frozen form, wrapping her arms around him as best she could. "What are you doing?" Zorath asked weakly. "Humans have high body temperatures. We are like little heaters. I am warming you up. But I am dangerous. I could hurt you. I cannot control myself when I am this weak." Lucy looked up at him. Her honey-colored eyes were full of trust. "You would never hurt me," she said. "I believe that completely." Victor brought more blankets and draped them over both of them. Physical contact is the most efficient way to transfer heat. Also, I am detecting that both of your stress levels are decreasing. This is good for healing. Zorath looked down at the small human pressed against his chest. She was so tiny compared to him, so fragile, and yet she had just helped save 600 lives. She had flown through a deadly asteroid field without fear. She had worked without stopping for almost 20 minutes in a damaged ship that could have exploded at any moment. And now she was here, holding him, trusting him completely. "Thank you," he whispered, "for everything you have done for me." Lucy smiled against his cold chest. "What are friends for?" Friends? He had never thought he would have that word in his life again. After his world died, after his family disappeared into the darkness, he thought he would be alone forever. But Lucy had changed that. Lucy and Victor. They had found him in his loneliness and pulled him back into the light. The rescue ships turned toward home. Behind them, the Starlight Hope followed slowly, its engines barely working, but enough to get it to safety. 600 people were going to see their families again. 200 children were going to grow up. And Zorath Kell, the last Vexorian, the monster that everyone had feared, and helped make it happen. The story of the rescue spread across the galaxy like wildfire. News programs on 100 different worlds showed images of the damaged Starlight Hope and the brave cadets who had saved it. Reporters talked about the incredible flying skills of the human pilot. They discussed the amazing calculations of her robot companion. But most of all, they talked about the Vexorian who had held a starship together with his bare hands. Zorath Kell became famous. Overnight. Letters arrived at the Academy from all corners of the galaxy. Military commanders sent official messages of praise. Scientists asked for interviews. Children on distant planets drew pictures of the tall black figure with glowing red eyes. But in their drawings, he was not a monster. He was a hero. But Zorath did not care about any of that. On the evening after they returned to the Academy, Lucy found him on the observation deck. This was a special place at the top of the main building where students could go to look at the stars. Zorath stood alone, his massive form a shadow against the light of distant suns. "I figured you would be here," Lucy said, walking up beside him. "I like looking at the stars," Zorath replied. "My home is out there somewhere. Or at least, the place where it used to be." Lucy was quiet for a moment. "You never told me why you came to the Academy. You could have gone anywhere. The Galactic Council offered you whatever you wanted." Zorath was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was heavy with old pain. "I came because I had nowhere else to go. My world is gone. My family is gone. I am the last of my kind. I thought maybe if I became strong enough, if I trained hard enough, I could stop the same thing from happening to someone else. I could protect other worlds from the darkness that took mine. And now?" Lucy asked. "Do you still feel that way?" Zorath turned to look at her. In the starlight, her copper hair glowed like fire. Her honey-colored eyes were warm and kind. "Now I understand something important," he said. "Strength alone is not enough. Before you came, I was strong. I was powerful. But I was also alone and angry and afraid. What good is power if you use it to push everyone away?" He looked down at his clawed hands. "You taught me that strength without kindness is just destruction. But kindness can turn even the most frightening warrior into a protector. You looked at me and saw something that I could not see in myself. What did I see? That I was not a monster. That I was just sad and lonely and lost. That I needed a friend more than I needed to be feared." Lucy smiled. "You were always a protector, Zorath. You just needed someone to remind you." Heavy metal footsteps announced Victor's arrival. The robot walked onto the observation deck and stood with them, looking out at the stars. "I have been analyzing data from our mission," Victor said. "According to my calculations, we should not have succeeded. The chances were very much against us. The asteroid field was too dangerous. The damage to the ship was too severe. The time limit was too short. So what made the difference?" Lucy asked. "You did. Both of you. Human determination combined with Vexorian resilience created results that exceeded all my predictions. When different kinds of strength work together, they become more powerful than they would be alone." Lucy grinned. "That is a fancy way of saying teamwork works." "I would not say it that simply, but yes." Zorath laughed. It was a deep, rumbling sound that shook the observation deck. 3 months ago, that sound would have terrified anyone who heard it. Now it just sounded like happiness. The next morning, Commander Voss called everyone to the main hall. The entire academy gathered together as the superintendent walked to the front and stood at the podium. "Yesterday, we saw something extraordinary," Voss began. His voice was proud and warm. "We did not just see a successful rescue mission, though that would be enough to celebrate. We saw the true purpose of this academy come to life. We train warriors here, yes. We teach fighting and tactics and strategy. But more importantly, we create bonds. We take young people from across the galaxy, each with their own strengths and fears and problems, and we help them become something greater together." He looked out at the assembled cadets. His golden eyes found Zorath standing near the back, with Lucy on one side and Victor on the other. "When Cadet 13 arrived at this academy, many of you were afraid of him. Some of you still are. I understand that fear. Vexorians have a reputation as fearsome warriors. But yesterday, this young man risked his life without hesitation to save strangers. He stood in the cold emptiness of space, in terrible pain, refusing to let go because innocent lives depended on him. That is not the action of a monster. That is the action of a hero." The hall exploded with applause. Students who had once from Zorath now cheered for him. Teachers who had watched him with suspicion now clapped their hands with respect. "Furthermore," Voss continued, I have received a special message from the Galactic Council. In recognition of extraordinary bravery, Cadet Zorath Kell is hereby awarded the Silver Star of Velthor, the highest honor this academy can give. The applause grew even louder. Students pushed forward to congratulate Zorath. Skrex the Krillian slapped him on the back. Pebble the Trilaxian wrapped her arms around him in a hug. Even Yeleth the Mandari, whose species was known for hiding their emotions, was clearly moved, but through all of it, Zorath's red eyes stayed fixed on Lucy and Victor, standing at the edge of the crowd. Later, when the celebration was over and the crowds had gone away, the three of them found each other again on the observation deck. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. "I spent so long being afraid," Zorath said quietly. "Afraid of my own power. Afraid of what I saw when I looked at myself. Afraid that I would always be alone, the last of a dead species, wandering through a galaxy that had no place for me. And now?" Victor asked. Zorath looked at his friends. The human woman who had reached out to him when no one else would. The robot who had seen past his scary appearance to the person underneath. Together, they had taught him something that all his power and strength never could. "Now I have a family again," he said. Lucy reached up and took his massive clawed hand in her small human one. Victor placed his metal hand on top of both. "Family is not about blood," Lucy said. "It is not about what species you are or where you came from. Family is about the people who choose to stand beside you no matter what. And we choose you, Zorath. Today, tomorrow, and always." Zorath felt tears forming in his eyes. They glowed amber, the color of Vexorian emotion. But these were not tears of grief like the ones he had cried in his lonely room months ago. These were tears of joy. "I never thought I would feel this way again," he said. "After my world died, I thought that part of me died too. The part that could feel happiness. The part that could feel connected to others. But you brought it back. Both of you. That is what friends do," Victor said. "According to my research on organic social behavior, friendship involves supporting each other through difficult times and celebrating together during good times. I believe we have done both." Lucy laughed. "Victor, you are the most unusual friend I have ever had. I will take that as a compliment." Above them, the stars of 1,000 worlds shone in the darkness. Somewhere among them, new challenges were waiting. New adventures. New chances to make a difference. But for now, in this moment, three unlikely companions stood together on the observation deck of the Galactic Military Academy. They were bound by something stronger than fear, more lasting than metal, more valuable than any treasure in the universe. Friendship. Zorath Kell, once known only as the dreaded Cadet 13, looked out at those endless stars. He thought about his family, lost in the darkness of space. He knew they would be proud of him, not because of his strength or his power or the award he had received. They would be proud because he had learned the most important lesson of all. No one has to be alone. No one has to face the darkness by themselves. All it takes is one person brave enough to reach out, kind enough to see past the surface, and patient enough to wait for trust to grow. Lucy had been that person for him. And because of her, everything had changed. He squeezed her hand gently, careful not to hurt her, the way she had taught him. "Thank you," he said again, because the words could never be enough. "You are welcome," Lucy replied. "Now come on." Victor says the cafeteria is serving something called chocolate cake tonight, and I refuse to let you miss your first taste of human dessert. Zora smiled. A real smile, warm and bright. "Lead the way," he said. And together, the three of them walked back toward the lights of the academy, toward the future, toward whatever adventures awaited them next. They were ready for anything, because they had each other. The end.